Call the meeting to order. First line of business is approval of minutes from the previous meeting. That would have been the special meeting and public hearing on September 4th. Anybody had a chance really to review those? I know Cindy sent them out.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 4th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4 affirmative on the meeting minutes. Moving on to administrative report. Any questions on that? I know Cindy's been doing where she's been sending them out, I believe, monthly now instead of waiting till the meeting minutes or the meeting, because we don't really meet very often. So, any questions on that? Looks like we had 3 permits pulled in the month of so far of October. So, any questions there?
No, sir.
Okay, old business. Anybody have old business? All right. New business. Dwayne, I know you said before we got to this, there was something you want to talk about. Are you still want to talk about the timing of meeting?
I think we need to discuss a potential new start time for the Plan Commission meetings moving forward. I think it starts a little late, is a little inconvenient for people that may have families, things like that. So I'm open to suggestions. I know we have sometimes a BZA meeting prior to the Plan Commission meeting. I don't want to conflict with anything that they've got going on, but I do think we need to look into moving it. So I'm open to suggestions.
That's fine. So Lee, I do have a question on that. Are we able to do we'll call it an email chain with the current Plan Commission to look at times and dates that would work best? I know that we have sometimes issues getting members here because of different things. Right. Is that fine to do in a email standpoint, and then once we kind of pick a date,
poll people and ask
pull people on them,
sure.
And then maybe at our next meeting, if we've got the results, we can kind of come up with a time on that.
Yep.
Everybody kind of good with that? We'll just do that. Okay. Moving on to new business. I believe this is actually considered a public hearing, right?
We need to call the public hearing to order.
Okay. So I'm going to call the public hearing to order for the preliminary plat approval and rezoning petition for Pleasant Creek.
Let's call the public hearing for one or the other.
Okay.
First.
Let's do the public hearing for the preliminary plat approval first, since it's listed on there first.
Okay.
And do you want me, I know what's going to happen there. Do you want them to explain, or do you want to explain what we're going to have to do on that one?
That's up to you. I certainly can.
Go ahead.
All right. So, again, my name's Adam Mears with Gravison Land Development. Our offices are at 6330 East 75th Street, Indianapolis. I've got representatives from both Lennar, NPR, Ryan Homes, and a couple of Gravisons with me as well. So we're happy to be here. As you said, Dwayne, we originally filed for a rezone, the PUD, and primary plat. We originally submitted our primary plat to the town. I don't know the exact date. The town came back with several comments, and we've been working through those comments and even some additional things that we worked through today on the telephone. So we're still making some tweaks to that primary plat. It's not completely finalized yet. It should be likely in the next day or two. We should have that wrapped up, but I think it would be better to have that hearing on the primary plat at the next available meeting, again, so that we've been able to address all of the town's comments and make sure that the primary plat is at its final stage before we come present it to the public and to the town. So we'd ask that be continued, hopefully to a meeting prior to Thanksgiving, and then move forward with just the PUD ordinance this evening.
Okay. Just looking at dates. So the week of you know, the normal meeting would be the 26th, which I know we kind of discussed. It's the week of Thanksgiving. Probably gonna have a lot of people that, you know, public that may have some things they may have input that won't be able to make because of that. I'm sure there's some members that's a busy week.
And we'd be happy to do it the 12th or the 19th. Those are both Tuesdays prior to that.
So I know I'm pretty flexible with my schedule. Dwayne, I don't know what yours is. I can pretty well make anything work, other than the 25th. My wife has surgery on the 25th, so. But that's that same week.
Let me check and see what the War Department has put in for me.
Same thing, Chris. If you look at yours, I know sometimes your work schedule. I will say, I know that, you know, I don't know that since it's going to be a special meeting, it doesn't have to be a Tuesday. I do know that in conversation with a couple of the other Plan Commission members, Thursdays seem to work better for them, but doesn't mean that we have to do it.
I would not be able to attend on the 12th.
Well, and I think Lee's I think we need to make sure he's here, so.
Well, if we can have the other two members, and Chris, I don't know how that works with your schedule, the 21st, which would be Thursday. That's still a week before.
Or the 21st, probably.
Because I would like,
I mean, I don't
it's
have-
gonna be a public hearing, we need to have as much of the public here as well, and as much of the plan commission.
Exactly. I'm good with the 21st. We're good with it. We'll just plan on that so that everybody in the public knows at least that portion of it's gonna be continued and they have the date before we leave here.
Lee, just to put it on the record, I'd ask that be done without additional notice.
So you have a request for a continuance of this petition until whatever date you decide, and a request that notice not be sent to adjoining property owners because they were provided notice of the public hearing this evening. And that is permitted, the thought being that if someone has an interest in attending the public hearing, they're here tonight in response to the notice they received previously.
And they would hear that we're moving the date on that. Okay.
But you certainly within your discretion to require that notices be sent if you think that would be what you prefer. It is a decision to be made by you as a committee.
I would have to say, you know, I get what Lee's saying as far as, you know, the notice that had been sent out, people, you know, had that, it also go in the paper, it's gotta go in for the paper, and we'll have to post all that, so it's not like there's anything else. I mean, we'll have to treat it
Well,
like
it would not be published again either unless you require that.
even for like don't we have to give like a 48-hour notice for a special meeting?
Just for open door law.
Yes, okay, that's what I was
That has nothing to
talking
do with a
about.
public hearing.
Yes,
That is-
yes, that we're having the meeting, okay. And that would have the agenda and all that stuff. Anybody want to make a motion? I think we all are, at least the four of us are in agreement for the 21st. I guess time-wise, same time. So I don't know that we need to go any
If we're gonna
earlier than
change-
6.
If we're gonna
But-
change the meeting altogether, let's move it to 6 as an experiment and see how it works.
Is 6 o'clock
Does
with
that-
you? I don't know what time.
6 works. 5's preferred, but 6 works.
Okay,
So
so let's plan, okay, anybody want to make a motion, I
make
guess?
a motion that we hold
I
a
just have a question before you vote. Since for some reason I'm not on the GIS app and we didn't get notified, we found out third hand, I would like to be notified from here on out. So they have my address, at least if they send one letter directly to us. If something changes, if a date changes or emergency meeting gets, moved around or whatever. Because we don't take the paper,
But you're not asking for notice of the meeting that we're resetting tonight, that we're telling you about right now, right?
Moving forward and then having.
Okay.
If anything changes after that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the only thing that notice would not get sent out is specifically for this meeting. Notices for any other public hearings would get sent out.
The date on them.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy, I'll take down their information, I'll add it to my database.
Okay.
So if there is another mailing that's required, they will clearly be involved.
Okay. Anybody, I guess,
I'll make a motion, we move the special meeting to the 21st of November That's, what?
She couldn't hear.
I can't hear the motion being made. Go ahead.
I make a motion that we move the meeting to the 21st of November at 6 p.m. And this
And-
public hearing,
And continue the public hearing without additional notice.
without additional notification.
Second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4 affirmative. All right, since we're moving it, do I have public comment since it's a public hearing, or since we're moving?
So I think you would call the public hearing for the
Close.
zoning.
Right, okay,
Request
I just
now.
wanted to double check. So this will be the close of the public hearing for the primary plat approval. Again, it will be moved to the 21st at 6 p.m. So that is closed. I'm gonna open the public hearing for the rezoning petition for the Pleasant Creek development.
I wonder, Matt, if we ought to just give a little bit of background so everybody understands procedurally what we are attempting to get done tonight. So, as you all are aware, this meeting tonight is most concerned with a proposed subdivision at the northwest corner of Sawmill Road and Whiteland Road. The developer who is here, Adam Mears is here, and Mark Gradison are here in the front. They will make a presentation to the board and to all of you that will inform us all about what they have in mind in the way of this proposed subdivision. They are proposing that it be developed as what's called a planned unit development, which means that instead of it just being rezoned to a residential zoning classification, they are proposing that it be developed as a single-family subdivision with sort of its own set of development standards and architectural standards and internal rules for that particular development. It's kind of a unique sort of hybrid approach under the zoning ordinance. It's pretty common these days. But in order for them to be able to proceed with a development, they have to first have this ground annexed into the town of New Whiteland. It is not currently in the town. That is a matter that the town council decides, not the plan commission. The town council has already given preliminary consideration to the annexation and will be deciding whether to annex the property into the town at its November 6th meeting. But if it is annexed, simultaneously with it coming into the town, Gradison Development is asking that it be zoned as a planned unit development and this proposed subdivision be approved. That is something that the Plan Commission has a hand in, and that's what this meeting is about tonight. And there are kind of two components to the approval process. One is to have the property rezoned. So when it comes into the town of New Whiteland, it is properly zoned for residential development as a planned unit development under our zoning ordinance. So they have to get it rezoned, and then they have to also submit a plat, which is the design of the lots and the streets and the common areas. It shows the Plan Commission how the property is going to be carved up into a certain number of lots, a certain size. It will include sizes, architectural treatments. It may involve some conditions and commitments for how common areas may be used or what screening may be provided. They'll get into those details. But the purpose of the meeting tonight is twofold. One is for the Plan Commission to consider whether the property should be rezoned to this PUD zoning classification so that it can be developed as a residential community, and to consider whether the details of that planned community are acceptable to the Plan Commission. And the other part was to actually look at the plat itself, which is the design of the lots and the sizes and shapes and configuration and location and the streets and all of that, the specific layout of the subdivision. that is not going to be presented tonight for approval. That's what was just continued until the 21st. But the developer is proceeding tonight and will, as soon as I shut up, with their request to have the property rezoned to this planned unit development, a PUD. And that will provide you an opportunity and the Plan Commission an opportunity to learn an awful lot about how the lots are going to be laid out, how the neighborhood is going to be developed. And this is an opportunity for the Plan Commission to learn about their plans and an opportunity for you to learn about their plans and ask questions about it. So though the hearing is just tonight about the rezoning, it will be fairly detailed and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions and try to learn as much about this as you want. That'll sort of set the stage for us to move forward. Okay? All right, thanks. So off you go.
Thank you, Lee. And Adam here from Practice and Land Development. Appreciate your time tonight. Appreciate the time of the residents that came out. And again, we're here to go through this plan and then be able to answer whatever questions you may have. As Lee said, current use, as you know, for those who invited, everybody, I assume knows where the location is. I did not show the location map. It's clearly right where the wastewater treatment plant is. It kind of surrounds that. We're proposing, as Lee said, a planned unit development for this piece of property. And I've got some notes up there. Again, I know it's hard to see, so I'm going to I'll read through it. But the justification for a PUD, as far as we see it, New Whiteland does not have really at all any significant architectural standards. One of the things a PUD allows is for us to commit to certain architectural standards that we wouldn't have to generally follow if we were just rezoned to a strict residential. So there is some give and take in a PUD, and a PUD is also generally kind of a negotiated document between the town and Grasston in this case. So it allows us flexibility to have different various home styles, different lot sizes, different products, all in one development to meet market needs. We're going to go through the lot details here, which a lot of them are similar to communities nearby. We're going to have open space here and amenities to make the neighborhood, again, a place for families to come together and groups to come together. Right now, of the parcels that we're purchasing, the current valuation for tax purposes is $797,000, essentially $796,000, $700 to be exact. We're projecting that the property value at completion, when all the homes are built out, to be right around $124 million. So from a tax-based standpoint, this is a real benefit from a tax standpoint for the town as well. Again, having essentially $123.2 million increased in value from a tax standpoint. So, Brian, let's go to the next one, and this is a layout. Again, it's a little difficult to see, so I'm going to try to walk through it. And I've got a couple extra here that you guys can pass around if that makes it easier for you to just start one here. And I've got two you guys can take a look at. But essentially, we are at the corner of Sawmill and 500. The proposal here is to have two separate builders. Essentially the west side, if you're looking up on the map, the west side of it, which is colored in red, that has an entrance off of 500 and then goes north. You can kind of see a real separation between the east and the west sides of the property. The west side is going to be Ryan Homes, and we'll show you some samples of their product. On the east side is Lennar as the builder, and then down to the southeast corner, well, I guess that'd be really the north, but when looking at this, those are townhome products, and again, I'll show you all of these as we go through. But essentially, the west side will have approximately 145 home sites. Those would be 52-foot wide lots. And then on the east side, I'm not talking about the townhomes, but the area in green and in purple, will have a variety of 46-foot wide lots and 54-foot wide lots, again, with varying products on those lots. And then the townhomes, we're still kind of tweaking the final number. On this handout we have, it has 117. It's going to be lower than that number. We've lost some lots in some of our design as we're working through these comments from the primary plat. So we're keeping the PUD at a maximum number of 117, but we know it's going to come in below that. And again, that further detail will be at the primary plat hearing. So essentially, we're going to have 2 builders, 4 to 5 different products. And again, the purpose here is to provide a variety of housing needs for the community to reach a variety of different buyers. So, certainly people build homes to sell them, but to have a community where you can have, again, different size houses, different size lots, different types of townhomes is hopefully going to meet the needs of a very public and provide, again, a new place at New Whiteland for people to live. Going through the ordinance itself, I'll point out some of the main points of the ordinance. Again, there are 4 distinct areas that we're covering. There'll be an area A, B, C, and D. Areas D and C are the townhomes that are down in that lower right corner on that map that's up there. And areas A and B are split between Lennar and the Pulte properties. They're all going to have an underlying zoning of what's called RS3, which is just a traditional single family. And when we got annexed, that's what we would be anyway. But in order to do this and have the different, again, multifamily product as well, the townhomes, the PUD was important for that. Regarding, I want to make it very clear, these are, all the product is for sale. This is not a rental community. We in our covenants, we do restrict leasing and rentals. There's no short-term rentals. We don't disallow them completely. We have a problem with doing that. I mean, people have life situations that require them to move quickly. If it's a job transfer, if it's some health of a family member in another state where people have to move quickly, we want to make sure that don't want to burden people if something like that happens. But we do require a long-term lease. So there's no Airbnbs, there's no short-term rentals. They would have to be a year or longer. The person who would rent we'd have to get the HOA would have a copy of the lease, and they would have to sign something they're going to acknowledge the covenant. So, but the idea is all of it's for sale product, and it's not sold to people that are going to just come in and do all for rent. Again, this Lennar will be selling, essentially half or more of the product because they're on the townhomes, and Ryan Homes will be selling their product. So neither of those builders in this project are doing anything for rent. Area A, as I said, that's split between all of the NVR piece, and then I believe the northern, the green area of Lennar. There's going to be 231 of those, and those again are the 52-foot wide lots. We have minimum square footage requirements for a single story of 1,200, and then minimum garage sizes and minimum overhangs. Again, some architectural qualities that aren't a part of the ordinance as it is. So overhangs, for example, are a nice feature. We're committing to do those. However, the ordinance doesn't require it. So that's a small little add. Area B, which is just on the Lennar side, there's 83 units, and those are 46-foot wide product. And again, you'll see some representative images of the product. Those have a little bigger footprint, a 1,400 square foot minimum for single-story ranches, and I believe those are all ranches, if I'm correct. The townhome numbers are moving, but we'll keep them as they are here. Area C, you can see here, if you look at that layout, there's a row of both up along Sawmill and up along 500. And Brian, maybe you can zoom in more so we can see that blue, the little blue ones that are wrapping around. So those are, they're called townhomes, but they're really, they're single family product. They're a little bit more narrow. They're going to be rear load, so the fronts will be facing Sawmill and facing 500. We think that's a better look than if you're driving down Sawmill or 500 and you're seeing the big back of a 5-unit townhome building. This, I think, gives a much better streetscape from 500 and Sawmill to have these front-facing, smaller single-family residences. And again, remember, the idea of a PUD is to offer a variety of products. There's some people that want a smaller townhome style living, but not in a larger building. So this meets that, and again, I think it really does help the sight line from both Sawmill and County Road 500. And then the final area is D, which is the internal buildings of townhomes. And again, we're still working through some of those things. We've lost some lots. So as we get to the primary plat, we'll have more specific details regarding what the streets will look like. The town came back with some requirements on street widths and those things. So we're working through all that now. As the PUD is written, it has a maximum number of units of 90. Hope everything's okay.
It's always bad when the fire department starts.
Yeah, I'm
right?
running out like that. Hope everything's okay. So we have a maximum number of units of 90 for the interior townhomes. Again, that's going to go down. We already know that. I just don't know how much it's going to go down. And those are generally have a minimum lot area of about 2,200 per unit. And sorry, that's for the lot size. And minimum ranch living space of 1,100. They're not going to be ranches, I don't believe. So they're going to be multi-unit, minimum 1,500 square feet. So that's kind of the breakdown of some lot specifics for each of the particular areas. We'll go through in a minute. We'll get to some architectural standards here, but there are some landscape requirements that we have to meet. Clearly, the town of New Whiteland subdivision regulations regarding landscaping. We also will have 1 canopy tree per lot and 2 on corner lots. Again, part of this PUD will require that. We're going to have lighting and parking regarding primary monuments and secondary monuments, meaning just, again, our entry monumentation. We'll likely have some lighting with it. We don't have the final design of that. We generally don't at this stage, at a rezoning stage. As we get further in, again, more primary plat, and then even further down, we have to put in a sign permit. The sign permit will have more detail on the entryway. Clearly, our goal, we like to have a nice, clean entry monument that's properly landscaped, and we'll do that to make it proud when you drive through. Subdivision regarding the residential streets, the townhomes will be private streets, and I say that just simply because generally most townhomes are private streets. So they'll be maintained by the HOA. They'll be the HOA's responsibility for snow removal and those things. It's not like a public street, and that also allows, in a private street scenario, to enforce no parking on the streets. So we'll have parking areas as well, along with parking, of course, where each townhome will have its own parking, but we'll have bays of parking lots for guests as well. Brian, let's go to the architectural standards, a couple pages down. So one of the number one again, you guys, it's so challenging to read that. Brian, it's probably the last page of that. Sorry, you just went through the whole ordinance. Right there, sorry. And I'm just going to read them, so apologize for the small writing. This subdivision will be managed by a homeowners association. We form the association. It's properly managed. It's professionally managed. We hire a management company that manages all of our HOAs. The covenants that will run with this subdivision will require that the subdivision always be professionally managed. This makes it so that the homeowners can't just one day say, yeah, we don't want to pay a management company, we're just gonna let this thing blow up. The covenants require that there has to be a management company, and the budget, will budget for that accordingly. We will have a pool in this subdivision, so the HOA dues are gonna be, higher than a neighborhood that doesn't have a pool, because pools, of course, come with more maintenance expense. But it's gonna be a great amenity for the community to have a pool, as well. We can have vinyl, but we set a minimum thickness of 0.44. We have an architectural review committee that while we're building anything, our company is in charge of all architectural review. So if somebody that buys a house in the subdivision wants to put up a fence, we have to approve it. We're gonna have standard fence requirements, so you don't have 411 houses with 411 different types of fences. All the fences are gonna be the same. We have to approve all landscaping plantings, all patio enclosures, anything that happens to the exterior of the house once somebody moves in. We have that architectural control to make sure that it's something we approve for the neighborhood. So again, it controls people from coming in and putting something crazy out their yard or something that may be distasteful to other people in the neighborhood. We like to think about it holistically as we want to make good decisions for all of the neighbors in the neighborhood. And then eventually, as we get closer to selling out, homeowners come on that board, and then we eventually turn it over to the homeowners, and it's their HOA. Of course, we're going to have all front yards will be sodded. Dusk to dawn coach lights will be on each house. We have what's called an anti-monotony provision, so 3 houses, you can't have the same house on either side of you or across the street as you. So when you're driving down the street, you're not gonna see 5 white of the same exact model. There'll have to be a different elevation switch, a different color switch. So there will literally not be 2 same houses next to each other, which we think is important. I talked about the fences. There's no trailers or tents or outbuildings generally permitted. And then we have driveways. Again, driveways will be sufficient to have 2 cars. So we want to avoid people parking on the streets as much as possible. So we require that the driveways be big enough to fit 2 cars. We'll go over some representative images. And then we also, all of our front facade windows have to have some type of grids or shutters, again, for a little more of an architectural design on the garages than what would be required in the current ordinance. Most of all of the things that I've said there are not generally required in the architectural, there really aren't any architectural requirements in the Whiteland. So this is part of that give and take, things we've discussed with the town as we've been moving through this process. It's a commit to things that under a general zoning, if we just kept it, if it got annexed and was just an R3, they can build essentially whatever they want. And again, we're committing so that we want to make sure that it's a good product and it's going to be around for a long time. Next, we're still working on a traffic study that will happen. We did do some traffic counts. We had a traffic engineer, was kind of the I would say, the premier traffic engineer, definitely in the state. They do a lot of work for the state. They do a lot of work for municipalities. They'll be doing a full traffic study on this that will be ready at some point a little bit further down the road that will dictate what type of road improvements are required. One of the commitments we'll have with the town is that when that traffic study is done, what it says and what they recommend from an improvement standpoint. You've heard things, I'm sure, like passing blisters or left turn lanes, things like that. What the traffic engineer requests, we're going to have to be committed to doing those things. So we'll go through that traffic study. The town's engineer will review the traffic study. Everybody will agree this is what improvements need to be made, and then those will be made. But this was just a traffic count, just to the town at least wanted us to try to demonstrate how many homes are gonna be, and I'll probably have Mark talk a little bit more about this when I'll let him up here at the end. I know if there's some more technical questions, I'll have Mark talk a little bit more about these traffic counts. But there will be a full-blown traffic study, and one of the commitments that we'll make at the next hearing is that, as part of our planning process, is that what recommendations are made by the traffic engineer, we have to do those things. Let's go to the architecture. These are some representative images of the product. Again, most of this product is going to be above 300,000, 325 is generally, I think, probably where the average is going to be. For purposes of my assessed value, when I came up with that 124 million, I took an average of all of the units at 300,000. The average of this neighborhood will be more than that. I was trying to be conservative, but again, I don't want to overstate something while I'm here. But these products, again, are being built by Ryan all over central Indiana, and I think I would say probably most of them are around 325, and we wouldn't expect this to be different. Go ahead, go to the next one. Those are hard to see. We'll leave those up here if somebody wants to go up to the screen and look at them. But again, these are Lennar's, what's called their venture collection. And then the next one are the townhomes. And Brian, let's try to zoom in, go to the townhomes and zoom in on the ones to the left, if you don't mind. Those are the single family ones that'll be front facing on, and again, these are just renderings of them. Let's try and see if we can get in there even more, just on those 4 right there. So they're more narrow homes, again, front facing out to the street. It'll create, I think, a really good buffer with the other townhomes behind. Of course, these are rear load garages. I think it's going to be a great product, and I think, again, it's going to really help the vision out on Sawmill and 500. And then, Brian, if you scoot over to the right a little bit, those are the multi-unit buildings that will be in the interior of the product. And then, Brian, next one is amenities, just to show you. We're going to do a pool and kind of what are we calling that, like a bathhouse. So there'll be a fenced-in pool, a bathhouse, parking, and this is that's an actual pool from a development that we built in Hamilton County. It's going to be something very similar to that. It's been very successful in that subdivision, and we think it's going to be a great amenity for this area. So with that, be happy to answer any questions anybody has. It's kind of, again, I think of the original concept plan that we did, is kind of, that we were here for in September, is kind of a 30,000 foot high look down at the development. This zoning ordinance, zoning always generally doesn't get into real nitpicky down on the ground details. That's generally handled in the platting process, both the primary plat and then further when we have our construction drawings for the actual section, we get into some more of the weeds. But I think kind of the rezoning is more of a 10,000 foot look. We're getting closer, and the primary plat will be essentially on the ground. But for zoning purposes, it's basically saying, hey, here are the things we're committing to. Here are the types of materials we're going to have on these houses. Here's representative images of the houses. Here's the lot sizes that they're going to be. Here's how many maximum units we can have in this area. Here's what open space and amenities we're going to have. So we think this is, again, it's a unique piece wrapped around a wastewater treatment plant. So there will also be a significant amount of buffering around that plant, both with an 8-foot privacy fence, like a white vinyl privacy fence, some mounding and other plantings around, again, to buffer that wastewater treatment plant. And then part of this is also we're gonna be dedicating some ground to the town for future possible expansion or needs that the town may have for storage or other uses for the wastewater treatment plant. I know that Dwayne and Matt can talk about, they've already run capacity tests to see if this is built out, they still have plenty of capacity to handle this. Both the town's engineer and again, if there are questions about that, I know they'll be able to speak to that there is no concern of a capacity issue as it regards the sanitary sewer system. So we're really excited about this project. Our builders are excited about it. We think it's going to be very successful, bringing some new product and a mix of variety of homes to meet the needs to bring more people to the community. And we think this is going to be a great development. We're happy to be here. And again, we look forward to answering any of your questions that you may have.
So I'll call on everybody real quick, individually and stuff. And I got one question that I had wrote down.
Let's make sure. Are you finished with your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
As I say, I know that you said something about maybe Mark doing technical stuff. Should we go with it first before we open up? Are you good with that, or do you want
I
to
think it
do?
would depend on what questions people have. If there's something that's a little more technical.
Okay. Is there anything specific, technical wise, you want to talk about, Mark, before we go
I'll
to
just talk
questions?
about the traffic.
Okay.
Part of things. So the slide that I put up there was really just about getting the counts of how many trips would be generated by the amount of homes that we have. It did indicate, there was some concern about going up through the neighborhood to the north. It indicates roughly, it's a small amount, but it's 5 during the AM as an entry and 16 as an exit, and then 18 coming in the evenings, and 11 going out. So a fairly small portion of the overall traffic. The A&F traffic engineering company felt like there was going to be just a small amount that would exit out of that north because of using to go up through the north, it's going to have to go through the neighborhood and stop signs and all the other stuff and slower go than it would be than getting out onto Whiteland Road or getting out onto Sawmill.
Okay.
So that was the gist of that screen that we did there, and a little bit more clarification too. So and as you guys know, based on our comments, we've committed to doing worst case scenario. It'll be worst case, but if we chose not to do a traffic study, we'd have a left turn lane, channelized left turn lane on Sawmill for all 3 entrances technically that are out onto the main roadways. The traffic engineer feels like it should be a little less than that based upon his initial look-sees, but we had to wait for school to get back in session. We'll get him engaged next week. His camera guy was off this week. His school was out. I think he's on the west side somewhere. So he was on vacation this week, so we'll get them up and running next week now that school's back in play, and we'll be able to get appropriate proper counts. So, and then if you guys have any technical questions, maybe start with the commission first. If you guys have questions, then we can go to the public, however you want to go. So
the only question I had is you had mentioned about the HOA. I know there's two home builders. Will each section have its own HOA? I figured that the townhomes would have. Is it going to be separated as well, or will that be all managed as one?
One master HOA.
Okay.
Because again, both sides up there are going to have to pay in to help maintain the pool.
Okay.
So it'll be one HOA. The townhomes will have a different architectural committee, and it'll be essentially a sub HOA of the master.
Okay.
Everybody will be in one HOA.
Okay.
Yep.
That's really a question I know that we've dealt with a lot. So.
With that being said, are there going to be different standards that the HOA will provide? Because here's my thinking on this, because if I read correctly, like if I have one of the big homes and it gets approved that I can put a shed to put my lawn equipment in, that's okay, based on what you said in the HOA. Is there enough room in the townhomes, or is there going to be a different standard that says, no, you can't do that because you've got a lot smaller lot?
Yes. Definitely is a different standard. There won't be swing sets allowed. There won't be those typical things that you would see in a single family from an exterior perspective. Those will not be allowed in that section.
Okay.
And we do make sure with sheds and such that we aren't blocking views and trying to make sure they match the house architecture and all those things. It's not like they can just run down the street to Lowe's and grab a shed and pop it in there. It's it's got to match and be tastefully done.
Okay, with that being said, and you may not be to this point yet, so if you're not, just say so. The rear loading townhomes, okay, you're gonna have a driveway there.
Yep.
The front part, you want to be aesthetically pleasing to Sawmill Road. If somebody wants a shed, where are they putting it?
They
Front,
won't have a shed in that area, so that whole area will be maintenance free
okay,
as well, so they won't need a lawnmower, weed eater, those type of
Okay.
things. So that
Very
helps
good.
solve the shed
Yes,
problem for
okay.
those people.
perfect, thank you.
Any other questions from plan commission members?
I don't have any questions at the moment. I think
It's per
other
time.
conversation
Or-
makes person.
So calling everybody individually whenever, just kind of raise your hand. Hopefully I'll try to pick. Cindy will need name and address, right? Correct, Cindy, for the record. Then just direct your question and we'll try to answer as best as we can, or they will. Yes, sir.
So we live on 589 West, 500 North, on the south side of Whiteland Road.
No, hold on. Name and address real quick. I'm sorry. Just
589 West,
Don Foley, from a little bit slower. This is 589.
589 West, 500 North.
Okay.
Don Cole. And so my main question is, maybe a dumb question, but this zoning shouldn't affect us. We're in Franklin, Johnson County. We're on the south side of Whiteland Road. That zoning shouldn't affect us, right?
right. The zoning would just be this specific set of parcels.
Yeah, and then my other question is, it's kind of vague, the entryway into this subdivision. So is this going to be west of course, there's a new bridge coming in. Is that new entrance west of that bridge? Or is this going to be?
Go ahead. I'll let you do it here.
So you are correct. There are two things that the county is doing. They are replacing the bridge at Grassy Creek, which is closer to you.
Yes.
Then they're also replacing the culvert pipe directly in front of the wastewater treatment plant. That entrance on the south right there is just west of our entrance into the wastewater plant.
Okay, so then that's east of the bridge.
Correct. Correct.
East of the bridge, west of the culvert.
Yep.
And so then this is my last question, another big thing. Now, where's all this water gonna go? Of course, now we catch I put a drainage ditch in 20 years ago. It catches all your water now, all Tracy Road comes across, which is fine, that helped me. But now, are you gonna redirect all this water down?
These are their questions to answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's I was just going to refer.
So where are you located, sir? You're west of our entry? Is that
I am, yes, I'm west of your entry. I'm
Okay,
right
so
there.
you're talking about the ditch, the legal drain that's then running down?
Right, and you got the legal drain that comes behind my property, and then if you go a little bit further west, then we're catching all the water that comes underneath the road, with the pipe. And it's catching all that water from that, which, do you go all the way to 75W?
No. We're
Okay.
only, east of East Grassy Creek.
Okay,
So
there's
we
nothing
are over there in front of, closer to where you are.
okay,
So none of our water will be getting to you. Some of our water will go into East Grassy Creek.
right,
A lot of it's gonna go into Grassy Creek.
okay,
Okay?
okay.
Properly detained and all those type of things.
And also to let you know is all the drainage and all that stuff will be reviewed when we get farther down the road by engineers that the town has selected to review that. So,
Okay. Great, that answers my question.
okay. Okay, I'll just kind of move down through. Okay.
So we need the same address. So I wanted to make sure I just understood. This is east of the ditch, and anything west of the ditch is not implicated in this conversation this evening.
Correct. Yes. Extra. Like I said, I'll just kind of move back through just so everybody knows.
Sure, right here, 311 Sawmill. So I love the idea that you have garages for the townhomes, so that cars are not everywhere. But my concern is, it's a very small condensed area, and it looks like, it appears, what I'm seeing is 117 homes in that small condensed area with one entrance, one exit. going right onto Sawmill. How are you guys gonna handle the traffic, which with each townhome potentially having 2 vehicles coming out onto Sawmill, right there that close to Whiteland? And I can tell you, we live on Sawmill, the congestion is picking up, so we're very concerned about that traffic.
Yeah, so traffic obviously is a lot of people's concern, right? So the A&F will do our traffic engineering for us, and they will track counts, they will calculate how many trips we will have out of each of our type of homes that we have, all the different products. They'll come up with what that traffic count needs to be. The other thing that, and then we'll run that into the equation of what the road's gonna look like and what the road's gonna potentially look like in the next 3 years or so, depending on when it happens, and I'll let Dwayne, or maybe Dwayne speak to some of that, but there is a roundabout plan for the intersection at 500 and Sawmill. And that roundabout will help a bunch with congestion, because that's what roundabouts do. They help keep traffic moving and will help that congestion substantially. The engineer will take that into account based upon the information he gathers from the town of Whiteland, these guys, and Johnson County, who are the 3, if I remember correctly, the 3 components of that roundabout. He will put that all into the equation based upon the design, and then come up with a recommendation for us on the traffic.
So only one entrance
We have one entrance, and then what you don't see there is the town has asked us to have an emergency entrance, which is going to be protected with bollards, so it's not used on an everyday basis. But from an emergency standpoint, fire department goes on a run, they need to come in, the entrance is blocked, they can come in that way if they need to.
And that'll be off of
Sawmill. No, they'll go off the Sawmill as well, so it's down, Brian, if you wanna zoom in, that's gonna be.
But like I said, it will be,
In that next plat that we're doing.
blocked off.
It'll be down there at that south end, and not like a factor, right, because it'll be blocked off with bollards.
So, and I have one more question for you gentlemen up there.
Yes.
Is there any talks about widening Sawmill, at any point in time to where we could potentially lose part of our property?
Yeah, well, so as far as the widening, the traffic study will dictate a lot of that. But to put your mind at a little bit of ease, it makes it very, very difficult with things that are already established on that side. Yes, there is right of way and stuff currently through there, but again, it's not something that I'm a homeowner too. I don't really want vehicles 20 foot from my front porch.
Right.
So,
If I can add a little to that,
Go for it.
Mark, you tell me too if I'm kind of wrong there. I would assume if the traffic study comes back and says that, it needs to be widened, to a certain standard or whatever, most of that widening is going to happen going to the west because of there's current homes there, and we don't have as much right of way there. But
So
I don't.
The initial report, if there's something that you suggest that does need to be widened, for whatever reasons, right, it's just science with how they look at this. If they come up with that, then we have enough right of way that we're dedicating to the town that we can move the road. If he says he needs to widen it 2 feet, we can widen on our side. We're going to be probably repaving the majority of that road. So that will then restripe it, and then that will affect that, even though it's on our side, it won't be lopsided. Southbound lane will be 14 feet wide and 10 feet wide on the northbound would be 12 and 12.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
My first year, 311 Sawmill, I've got several questions. I agree with, if it needs widening, go to the west, because we've got the school property, and the only thing that really would be affected is a couple homes and the church. Any plans on extra widening in front of the elementary school, where the parents that come in and pick up their kids and drop them off and everything else?
we won't, the addition doesn't even carry that far north.
No, but I mean, if you're gonna widen Sawmill, it would make sense to widen it for a mile from the Whiteland Road to Tracy Road, is my thought. And the other question is the county gonna replace the bridge just north of Whiteland Road.
The-
It's narrow, you can't, I mean, it's,
As of right now, the county has no plans on redoing that bridge.
so if you widen it, it could just be a bottleneck.
Those are still valid points and still questions that we honestly at this point don't have a 100% answer to. I'm assuming by next meeting
We'll have.
maybe.
We won't have the traffic study by then.
Okay.
I doubt it. It'd be close, but we'll maybe have some input, but we won't have a report.
Okay.
But what I will tell you, sir, just from being in this business for 35 years and dealing with traffic engineers all my life, they will tell you that that bridge being narrow is a good thing. It's a traffic calming device, which helps bring the speed down. If we go to widen that road 2 feet on either side, people are gonna fly.
They already fly.
But having it narrower does calm traffic some, just so you know, that's just a science thing, I'm not saying that that's what's gonna happen, that's how.
I got 34 years in law enforcement, okay, I'm just retired. I know these roads like the back of my hand.
I'm sure you do.
That, if you leave that bottleneck there and you have an accident, then the fire department's gonna have a heck of a time getting any emergency services through there. There's no sidewalks. That bridge has already got a weight limit, and if you get a bunch of cars backed up on there, then the weight limit's gonna become a problem, especially if there's a big truck. We're already gonna have heavy equipment coming up and down through there. I would prefer that you, instead of having your emergency entrance on Whiteland Road, that you have a secondary entrance. So that way, it's beyond the roundabout, and you're actually spreading it out a little bit, instead of everybody trying to turn left or right, getting in and out.
The distance from the roundabout is the difficult thing, because the roundabout's gonna end up being more on our property again because of what's going on. We're not gonna make room for that, so that site, that distance from the roundabout out to the next intersection is a reasonable distance. I don't think that would qualify from the speed limit for which that roundabout comes up.
And one thing I know traffic is going to be, would be a huge topic. I do want to make certain that, a lot of this traffic stuff will be hashed out once we get a traffic study. We won't know any of that stuff, just so that, we can give opinions, but it's all going to really come down to what the engineers that they have doing a study, and then the town's engineers who they hire to review to make sure things are done properly and stuff. So I just wanted to make that point, just so that everybody knows that, we're still kind of in limbo on the traffic side of things.
I have another follow-up here. I'm not the least bit happy about the density of the homes, especially the townhomes. I mean, I know they're gonna have homeowners associations. We can't get people to take care of their property on Sawmill Road already, and it looks like a junkie. So, I understand.
That is gonna be a maintenance-free area.
I understand.
We'll be taken care of as an
I understand that, but it's the look of it. I mean, right now, we sit there and look at some of the most beautiful sunsets you've ever seen, and now we're gonna have all these houses out there and all the traffic coming in. Thank God you're not putting an entrance right there in front of our house. You already tried to get up here, but it's still, I think that this would be a perfect opportunity to have larger lot sizes with bigger homes instead of postage stamp lots with a great big house sitting on it. And there's zero lot lines, and you talk about the pool being in the amenities, and that's for those people. We don't have any access to the pool. Not that I would want to, but it's nothing that the town's gonna gain other than tax revenue. There's nothing there that anybody else is gonna gain. We already don't have sidewalks, from the bridge to, Whiteland Road, and the people that are walking down through there take their life in their hands, trying to just navigate.
There will be sidewalks now with this development going in.
On what side of Whiteland Road? East or west?
On Whiteland
I
Road,
mean Sawmill Road.
West.
since it's their property, that's where it will be.
What's that?
On the west side of Sawmill Road.
And then basically what, have a crossover of the bridge and like, putting it that other way, or putting it on the other side. Because you have to widen the bridge more. Right now, there's a steel grate across. We're also talking about the single resurfacing of Sawmill High Road, right? We're also talking about resurfacing Sawmill Road, but the town's also in the process of getting the grants from the state for completely redoing Sawmill Road, making it brick and start over, and it's gonna keep surfacing over top. If you're gonna have more traffic on top of it, the road's gonna start to cave if we don't.
Again,
In 17
in,
years, Sawmill's never been paved.
all right, hold on.
That side.
Hold on. So, you know, the answer as far as the road being repaved and what the town's got plans for in the future really isn't in this part of the topic. We do ratings on a yearly basis of all the roads that the state mandates us to do, called PASER ratings. It's a 1 through 10 rating. And then the state says, okay, hey, this is the recommendations based off of those ratings. And the state says, here, this is how much money we're able to give you to do work. So a lot of it will depend on that. But, you know, that's, you know, and the extra traffic will be taken into account with those PASER ratings. But Dwayne, tell me if I'm wrong, at least as of right now, Sawmill is not on that list. But again, you know, that's answering that question. But
Because it would sound like common sense if you're gonna be tearing up side, widening the road and stuff like that, why not just completely fix sections of it first instead of coming back later and ripping it up again?
yep. Well, like I said, some of that, you know, it may come back from this traffic study that it says that. So we'll have more of that information at a later date from them.
I did have one last one, and my apologies for all the questions. The water consumption, we're looking at, 350 homes being added to New Whiteland. What is that gonna do? How are you gonna accommodate all the homes? Are we gonna take a hit? Are we gonna feel the pressure of all the water consumption
No.
with lower or?
It's Indian American water, so that should have we don't have our own well field. All of our water is now provided through them, so that should not have any bearing whatsoever.
Perfect.
Do you know if there's been any talk from them about adding a secondary water tower anywhere?
That will be up to when Gradison and them kind of go through that with the utilities and stuff and making sure that they can supply. I'm sure that'll be in there, factor into it. So, Jeff, yes.
Yeah, I received a phone call probably the first week of October, and I believe it was from someone with a developer. And I'm sorry, Jeff Sanders, New Whiteland Baptist Church. We're adjacent, and we had talked, and at that point, they suggested that there would be a potential need for a deceleration lane, which would encroach pretty significantly into our parking lot potentially.
So,
is that?
yeah, so the reason why I didn't send you anything is because we've been working with these guys on trying to figure out when we're gone, what that was gonna look like. We don't know what it is, right? We don't know what it is. Afterwards, we can, I've got it on the computer, I can show you an overlay of what, if it's just an A-cell, D-cell lane, I can show you exactly
Well,
what
it
it
kind of
is.
sent me for a buzz because honestly, I was vacationing from that phone call forward. And I went yesterday to the Johnson County office, and their understanding, first of all, the highway department would decide if there was a need for a deceleration lane, it would be up to the town.
Yes.
And that will be for the traffic study and things like
The
that.
thing that they were suggesting was that the typical allowance is 20 plus 20 from the road line center. So on our side, that could be, because I think Sawmill Road's only, I would say 20 some feet wide.
Yeah, it's 11 feet from the
Yeah,
traffic
so
lane.
10 plus 20, that could be 30 feet into a.
Yeah, I don't think it would be that. So I can show you afterwards. I'm glad you appreciate it. So I was gonna ask if you were here. So if we can do that afterwards, I can show you exactly what we're looking at.
I'm available Sunday.
That's up to you. That's it. All right.
You may
So-
need to.
About 10 o'clock.
I guess the other thing that would be helpful for us, just as you stated that the view from Sawmill and Whiteland Road with the townhomes is more aesthetically pleasing, that was something that our congregation had asked as well. We're gonna be parking, and all those people, our parishioners, will be looking at the backs of these homes. And as from what I'm gathering, it looks as if the backs of those don't start until about 2/3 of the way down the property.
Right.
What is the use or the intended purpose of the buffered area?
It's just common space as you come in.
That's
So
what
we're
we're
common space with plantings and such.
Okay.
It won't be reforested, but it'll have some plants in it.
One of the congregants had made a suggestion, I don't know if this is something that would be appropriate or not, but I know we live in Millstone, which is just the other side, and people need a place to kind of manage their animals differently. You know, we have a dog park that's on the other side of Veterans Park, but to be candid with you, it's not being very positive because it's very, very small. So maybe looking at a way that buffering area could serve both your community and the adjacent community. Right now, our church serves as a potty tray for everybody in the neighborhood across the street from us. So we don't really mind, but I think that would be the kind of thing that might make it a little palatable. The other suggestion I was gonna make, and I don't know if our town folks can do this or not, but I'm gonna get asked 100 questions. There's probably 90 people that wanted to come tonight that didn't come tonight, and they're gonna come on me to give them all the answers, and I don't want to. Would it be possible to, on our town page, to have a section that is questions and answers specifically to this particular project? So that way, rather than you guys trying to mail something out every time there's a modification, it would be easier when people ask me, to go ahead and go to the town of Whiteland or this out.
We have to mail it out by law, by statute.
Some of those, but the updates of the meeting.
Unless your address isn't on the, I guess. But yes, no, yeah, I mean,
And I believe it goes on the town website, so I don't know if you're talking about the town website or Facebook. The town actually does not have a Facebook page. The affiliation that you see of the new Whiteland Informs that none of that is actually town affiliated. So the town itself does not have a Facebook page.
Do you have a website?
The town does have a website.
I guess that's what I was saying.
Okay.
People who ask us that we're attending the meeting, because one thing, it works in my church this way. If I tell Bill something, it sounds different by the time he gets to the boss. And I think that we can maybe curtail some of the confusion if there's a place where the questions are asked and answers go closer, so people can go there if they can't make it either. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, no.
And we're always happy if they end up with some emails and there's questions that are asked of us, I mean, are pertaining to us, and we're there. I can give you my email address and you can let the people get the admin and myself, so you don't have to be the mouthpiece. They can come directly to us if you like.
Well, they don't, so that's the problem. And I remember we just sold 8 acres behind our church that we haven't used in 25 years. No one had anything to say initially, but then once it was a deal, everybody had something to say. And I think that's just a small town feel.
But they can always reach out though. I mean, you can offer our information out and they can reach out to us that instead of burdening the town, we can answer the questions. If it's town
Appreciate that.
we can push it back to them.
Probably answer them better than we
Exactly.
can.
We can't tell you about all the happenings in the area, but we can tell you specifically about our development. We can answer those questions.
Sure.
And if we need to lateral to them, we will. But we'll give you a couple cards and let you contact people out.
Has there been anything set up yet for construction entrance?
We're not even at that point.
Is it coming in?
Not even to that point yet.
There'll be a construction entrance on both Sawmill and on Whiteland when we start.
Moving on this way, I believe you had a question right back.
Yeah,
Name and address for the record.
Paul Tilbury, 149 Sawmill Road. And if we were talking about the potential of the roadway on Sawmill, why are we building those micro townhomes so close to Sawmill? Looking at the map, it's basically right on top of Sawmill. I mean, just eliminating that from the project would allow, if you had to widen the road, you'd at least have the space to do it. Now, I know the builder's trying to maximize money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, it just seems like it's just like other people said, it's just so much tight with one entrance that if we could just reduce the number of townhomes in the project, would make the whole community happy.
there is a setback, or we are granting right of way. So we are granting, I don't know how much right of way we're granting,
50 feet on
500. So
35 feet.
we're granting 50 feet of right of way. So this isn't a fully engineered plan. I think it's a planning process. You'll see, we're granting 50 feet of right of way off the center, off the center line. So if it's an 11, so there's almost 40 feet that before the back is up, before the home starts. So there's plenty of room there.
Plus a setback.
Plus a the front yard setback is gonna be there too. So there's gonna be 50 to 60 feet from center line of the road before you see the front of this house.
Well, these micro townhouses that you're building, I think the people in the townhouses and the people from Sawmill or the house across would rather see a row of pine trees than the micro townhouse. So they'd rather see trees and stuff, more nature. They don't want to see all this, your less nature, because there's a small little area of trees in there in that area right now. You're gonna cut all that down.
Yeah, I mean, this is the plan, this is definitely the plan that we're going for. I hear what you're saying. But we're not at 117, we've lost a significant number of townhomes as it is. So yeah, this is the layout that are moving forward with. I hear what you're saying.
And these individual homes are set up to be street facing. They're designed to be that way. They're designed for walkability. They're designed for that buyer that wants that. These homes will be farther off of the center line of Sawmill than most of the ones that are on the east side of the road. So they will be removed more so than most of the ones on the other side. Just for whatever it's worth, that's the fact of where those will be located.
There's no walkability. I mean, is there a pool in this little townhouse area?
There's gonna be a
Because you
trail.
got Grassy Creek separating this little townhouse from your actual nice project.
There'll be sidewalks to connect it to the rest of the neighborhood.
And will the town ordinance about no overnight street parking apply to their project?
So all town ordinances, so I'll speak specifically on the townhomes, there will not be any street parking allowed anytime in the townhome section.
Enforced by the HOA.
Enforced by the HOA, but the
As
town
well as
can
our
afford,
PD.
as well as the town.
Correct.
The rest of the subdivision will fall under the same ordinances that the rest of the town falls under.
And each of the townhomes will have space for 4 cars. They'll be able to put 2 cars in the driveway, 2 cars in the garage.
Well,
And
we
then
can be
we'll
honest,
also have a
most
parking.
people have the garages full of junk, boxes and stuff. And you can go through a lot of these newer neighborhoods and you've got 4 cars crammed in these small driveways, which I guess that's the way of doing it, save on concrete. Then they got them in the street, and then people can't go through the street, it just look trashy, it's got all the streets filled with cars.
Yeah, they can't park on the street.
Well, and I think, from that side, that's, an ordinance issue that needs to get brought up to the town council at a council meeting, not specifically just for this subdivision. Like he said, and that actually brought up a question for me is if I'm not mistaken, from what I could tell is that's 4 cars in the driveway and not blocking the sidewalk, correct?
Correct.
So the sidewalk will still be accessible, okay.
You said 2 in the driveway.
2 in the driveway, 2 in the garage.
Oh, okay, I thought I read something that was, okay,
4 total.
okay, for some reason I thought I read something in there.
There's also some overflow parking that is scattered throughout the town. That'll be different than what you see, that may not be any on what you guys are looking at, but there is a new plan to follow up. If there's-
Hold on, we'll have some other ones before we go back to everybody else. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, you've been waiting. I know you have.
Sorry, I didn't even see a hand over there. I apologize.
I'm gonna let her go because she has been waiting.
Kate Carey, 574 West 500 North. We are on the west side of the creek, on the north side of 500. I'm well aware you were saying that your housing addition isn't going to involve any flooding, and it's not going to bother the creek. I guarantee you it will. They put 2 subdivisions behind our house already, and we have some issues. So how are you going to prevent that?
I don't know the details of the other neighborhoods, so I can't speak to that. But I can tell you that in our engineering, we have to meet certain release rates that are set by the state. And the amount of water that we can release, and then we go through a full drainage study. Looking through that, we submit that drainage study to the town. The town's engineer that they hire reviews it and says, okay, so great. So it goes through all those things. I don't know what happened to the north end yet, or what didn't
They
happen,
did
so.
that too. They went through the engineer, they went through all
Well,
the
there's-
rooms and roads and whatnot.
The drain couldn't handle it before the housing addition, so it doesn't
Well,
matter what.
and you
test
have a
we
new,
went
you have a
through.
new bridge coming in at that location.
Unless they dig that culvert another 10 foot deep, it's
Yeah.
not gonna matter.
Will it be retention ponds, the water?
So yes, so that is up to Johnson County, or Johnson County.
It'd be Johnson County.
Yeah, the Johnson County that's doing that project. I can't tell you what they have and don't have from their perspective, from the drainage. What drainage study they've done, and exactly why they're doing the bridge. Is it a bridge failure, or is it because they're trying to alleviate flooding? I don't know.
Yeah.
All the concrete you are going to put in is going to cause my house to flood. What's your plan?
We don't, it will, our development will not flood your home.
You want to bet?
Well, it won't be the cause of the flooding of your home. I can tell you that for sure. We will not be the cause.
You are going to put in.
We are gonna retaining that water at a certain release rate that we have to be based
I was
upon the
told
design.
that by the housing addition that put in the one on the north side of us also.
But there's other
Rather
things,
put it in
there's,
writing and make you sign it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be great, if you could put that in
Well,
writing.
it's part of the state law.
When her basement floods.
I'm aware of state law, I deal with I do. I work in Greenville, I'm well aware of all state regulations on all that. The matter of it is
We need to ask questions. This is.
Water has to go somewhere.
Yep.
And I'm well aware that it is against law to push water on anyway. And
So-
what happens is, whether it's a housing addition, whether it is warehouses, no matter what is built or where dirt is moved, water transfers somewhere else.
Correct. And
When you have something that
Hey,
floods
sir.
before it is ever messed with, I'm speaking, we gave you your chance to speak, may I speak?
Whoa.
well, hey, this.
We can stop this right now, okay?
No, I have a right to speak.
Yes,
I'm
you do.
speaking calmly. I did not
And he's
interrupt
trying to answer your
anyone
question.
there while y'all were speaking.
He's trying to
But
answer your question.
He's answered your question multiple times that
No,
it's.
he's giving me the political answer.
What else are we supposed to do other than having engineers look at it and then give the stamp of approval?
That's what I'm asking them, what is their plan?
I mean, that's from the town side of things is they will give us all their set of plans that their engineers have done. We will give it to a third-party engineer that the town has selected that doesn't have any affiliation with them to review that. We have to abide by IDEM and EPA and all that stuff. And all that will be addressed in that time.
I'm not asking you guys, I'm specifically asking them. I've written, I've emailed, and I've asked questions, and I've yet to have gotten a reply from anybody at their housing development. I'm physically here to get a question answered. So that's what
Are you speaking about us?
Yes.
You emailed us?
Yes.
Who are you specifically?
Sorry, I don't have one. You guys are Bradison?
Yeah.
Correct. Then that's who I've emailed at amears@mearslaw.com, which is on the bottom of your paper.
That's, I don't know, like, I don't know, that must have been an old, like, an old thing. That's, yeah, that's.
This is what you mailed.
Oh, I got you.
me.
Yep.
I have emailed, I have.
Yeah, I haven't.
No, I've gotten email. So I'm physically here.
So the answer to the question, it literally can't change from what we've said. We are going to hire an engineer that's going to do a drainage study that's gonna tell us where the water has to go, where we have to hold it. They dictate what we do, the engineers and the town. And so we don't decide what we do with the water. The engineers decide, and then the town's engineers sign off on it, and we follow all regulations that are required. And again, there's multiple parties that look at it. So from our standpoint, the answer is always gonna be the same. We have an engineer that comes up with all these calculations, they tell us where the water's gonna go, they meet all the state and local regulations, and the town's engineers look at it and confirm it, and if the town has a problem with it, they come back and say, we need to make these changes and these changes. That's what every other developer does in Indiana. We're doing the same exact thing that we're required to by law, So there's nothing specific that we can say to you that we're gonna do special for your house. We're gonna do it for everybody around us, what we're required to do by state law and then by the town ordinances. That's the only answer we can give you.
That's the exact same answer the other half of the gave. My basement did not flood when we bought our house 7 years ago.
Right.
That housing addition has been there for the last, 3 years? Maybe 3 years.
I hear that, and I understand, I totally understand what you're saying. There just isn't another answer. There's not, it's not us lay people deciding what happens. They're engineers, and I don't know, again, we can't speak to what happened before. All I can tell you is, we're gonna have our engineers at Kimley Horn, or they're gonna do our drainage study. It's gonna be shared with the town, they're gonna review it. The plans are gonna go into place. Every single, party that has to approve our stormwater, plan has to approve that. And what we're doing with the water, the county has to be involved because the drain, I would imagine. So there's gonna be the county looking at it, the town looking at it, the town's engineers looking at it, the county engineers looking at it, and our engineers looking at it. That's all I can tell you, and that's what we're doing.
And one thing I do want to say is what we are looking at as a plan commission right now is not addressing those issues. It is more along of what was presented. We will get into farther detail at the preliminary plat, and if it gets that far, to the preliminary plat, and once we get construction documents and things like that, if it gets that far. So, there'll be more meetings, all that stuff. Like hearing everybody's things, but I will say that those aren't, for this decision, that's not things we will be looking at for this decision. But I'm saying you will talk with us, it's just not for this decision on the PUD ordinance. And tell me if I'm wrong, Lee.
Yeah, but I think more importantly, it's an opportunity for the public to ask questions and not to argue, but to ask questions. And if you don't like the answer, I understand. But you've asked a question and it's been answered, and I think we need to move on to make sure everybody gets to ask whatever questions they have. And if you want to arrange to figure out how you can communicate directly with them and they're willing, that's okay too. But we can't have this turn into a discussion with the developer. We need to make sure everybody gets a chance to have their say, get a question, and make a comment. And so I think we need to get on with that.
Before we move on, sir, I would like to apologize for raising my voice to you. That was uncalled for and very unprofessional. It's not flooding my house. I understand your concern, okay? So if you would accept my apology, I would appreciate it. I'm very sorry.
I accept that. Can I ask one more question? I mean, it does and doesn't have to do with what's going on here. Everybody sitting out here is directly affected by this. I guess none of us asked, where do you guys live in town? Do you guys live around this development that we're discussing?
Not specifics.
Not specifics. I don't want y'all's address.
I don't, because I've been in my house for 35 years and you guys were not even thought of at that point, so.
Oh, bless your heart that you think that.
But I mean, so that kind of sets the mood why everybody out here takes it so personal, because this is directly affecting whether we've been at our place 35 years or 7 years, moved outside of city limits for a reason, and now we're facing this. We're losing our sunsets. We're losing our wildlife that we can look out in the field and see. We're losing all of this, and that's why the passion runs high with everybody out here. And like I said, obviously you said you don't live directly. I don't know if the other 4 of you out there do or not, if this directly affects you. And I do apologize myself. It's been a long day.
I would like to address that part of it, because one of the reasons that personally I feel that this is important is they don't have to come to New Whiteland to do this. They could go to the county, and the county could say, you know what, we don't care what New Whiteland says, we're gonna let you do whatever you want. We wanted to have some controls over what went in there, whether it affects you or me or any of your neighbors. we wanted to be able to have some of those controls. So we felt it was important when they came to us and said, hey, we want to be part of your community. We didn't want them going somewhere else, because then none of you have any say. We have no say. It's just something that gets put there and we're stuck with it whether we like it or not.
And kind of speak on that, and some reason why that is because the county already has it zoned residential. I know that there's fields in it, but it's zoned residential in the county. So they don't have to come and have these discussions because of that. I don't know what their zoning allows and things like that, but it could just throw up whatever is allowed to be in there. But we know that it does directly affect people that live in the community, especially in that area. So, kind of to reiterate what he had to say there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
I would like to ask some questions.
Maxine Wolf, 8 Hollyford Drive.
We are basically right at the entrance of Sawmill.
Yes.
We are right there. We're right across the street. By your drawing, right here. I know you have to do a traffic study. I know you have to do all that. I know I see that you opposed roundabout at Whiteland in, 500 in Sawmill. You're not thinking about another roundabout in that area, are you?
At the entry point?
At the entry point.
No, not that I.
Because I'm afraid it's gonna come into mine and my neighbors.
Well, it's very difficult to go into your guys' neighborhood, into your property, just based on what we talked about before, the proximity of the homes there, so that's not what anybody wants at this point.
And by what I'm listening to and what you just told me about, the county's already zoned it as residential, it's happening no matter what we do. It's happening no matter what we say. The biggest thing is yes, we live in an older neighborhood. Yes, we live in an established neighborhood that's there. Did you break the chair?
I think I might have. I hope it was the chair, not my back.
The one question that came to me is actually for you, sir. You were talking about how you're gonna have the city was talking about annexing this and then they're going through. Why is this meeting happening now before the town has even annexed the area?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
I wanted to ask it then.
That's a good, fair question.
And I mean, it's like, shouldn't that annex happen? Didn't we talk about it?
Yeah, it would be a simultaneous action. So it gets sort of tricky because oftentimes, so the developer is contracting to purchase this ground from the owners with this plan in mind. The owners probably don't want to be annexed into the town unless they know this development's going to be approved and the property's going to be sold. Mm-hmm. And so it's all sort of conditioned on everything being approved. Mm-hmm. And so the way this would go is that the town council will consider the annexation of the property, but it won't become effective unless this proposed development is also approved. It's kind of like instead of us taking it in and then exercising jurisdiction on it, we're agreeing that upon it being annexed, the rezoning of the property will become effective. And that'll be kind of a simultaneous approval by the town council. Yeah, that's very perceptive of you, and on its face it doesn't make sense, but it's not uncommon for this to happen when you've got farm fields and all that are owned by folks who would rather stay out there. Mm-hmm. But at the point when it's the right time to sell, mm-hmm. In order for developers to get the benefit of municipal services, mm-hmm. and to be able to seek the kind of approvals they need to do what they want, they have to know that all of that's going to be approved before the property owner will agree to let it come into the town. And so we bundle it all together.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not new to new developments. I grew up watching my aunt and uncle be a part of that life. They were big in real estate in Indianapolis and all that. So it's not uncommon. One question I do have for the council, and you may be able to answer this, you may or not. is this gonna affect how we live on the other side by their HOAs and their way they have everything over there?
The rules that are imposed on that new development will have no effect on you.
Okay, that's what I wanna know.
Yeah, you'll just be under basically what, the town ordinances are.
I mean, I
currently.
follow the town
So,
ordinances, I understand.
But
Can I ask a question that has nothing to do with this right now? Is there no board order out right now?
I will be honest, I have no idea. I have no idea. The
I've
people
been told
that,
yes and no, sorry.
the people that could have answered that took out here about an hour ago.
Oh, okay.
Probably because there is a.
I've been wondering, it's something. I know, and I wanted to ask why I had a chance.
Yes.
Can I say something? Like this gentleman said, our town doesn't have a pool. If you guys are paying attention to the town of informed citizens, you would see that people are constantly complaining they don't have a pool here. Their kids have nowhere to go. They're having to pay $15 to Greenwood, $10 to Franklin. Most parents can't afford that right now. When do we start providing for our citizens?
That's really not anything this plan commission can do anything
But
about it.
yeah,
And it's not the subject of this
But
hearing.
what I'm saying is that they're putting in a pool over there
For this unique
for
neighborhood.
that
That's
subdivision.
right, that's right.
And you're gonna annex that into town.
That-
Some people are gonna kind of feel like that's a spit in the face.
I don't know whether they will or not, but it's a private pool that won't be owned by the town. It's to be managed by the association. If you want to promote a pool, come to the town council meeting. Those are the folks that are in a position to say yes or no on that. But that's not something these folks can get
And
into.
the bridge that's down there that he's talking about, when it pours down rain and it rains badly, the water comes up to that bridge. And you're gonna sit there and have all that traffic going through, that won't hold.
Okay.
I mean, plain and simple, it's not going to.
And that, just from the traffic
Well, you
study and all that
just hear
stuff.
the comments.
So, yes, Jeff.
Yeah, what school services this new community?
So when we did our tech room meeting that brought in, just different other things, community, the school was involved, things like that. They did not specifically say. I would assume just from knowledge of how it is, I would assume break a day, but I don't, they didn't say in the meeting that we had with them when they were brought in on all
That
this.
was a question that I was asking from our folks.
So,
And then just another comment, and I'm not being combative, but I welcome the idea that you guys are coming in and helping manage the water. Our church, the basement was flooded for 20-some years because at that, we were like the only building beside that one addition, other than the schools, and the water was not managed. But since there has been more development, that has improved the water movement through that area. And we've been virtually dry now for about 10 years. Now, that's not going to happen to everyone all at once because you're in the middle of a huge field. But I do think that we need to make note that the more management there is, the less mismanaged water there will be. I'm kind of glad about that, to be honest with you. How it all works down the road, I don't know. But I'm glad that the city is annexing for this reason. I want the municipal support. But then, we talked about it. I hear these same things about we need better parks and better schools. This creates a tremendous tax revenue that will feed right back directly into our community. So I think it's going to be a benefit that maybe down the road people will see that they don't see now.
We were actually told by somebody that they're rebuilding Sawmill. I heard they were rebuilding Sawmill.
That was one comment.
You mean putting classes in?
I don't know anything about that, but that's.
Yeah, they're doing some
Sorry,
remodeling.
when you stopped at our house, you let it slip that they were talking
No,
about.
I didn't know anything slipped. They got building permits. So I mean,
I didn't know they were rebuilding it. I didn't know that.
And again, that I know that a lot of people, affect on schools, but that's as far as this topic goes. I don't know that we need to discuss from the school side.
Overcrowding as it is now.
Yes.
Close the public hearing.
Okay. Yes.
Actually, I forgot one of them, but, I know this is cart before the horse, but along Sawmill, where the buffer zone is, because there's a watershed, is there any plans to put a landscaping mound up there to kind of give us some privacy and them some privacy?
We've got a pond that's there, so that's a big pond area that's there, so there will not be a ton of space between the right of way and the pond, so we'll just have to look at that once we get into it, because I
couldn't tell if there was a pond.
It is hard in there, cause it's just drawn out in blue lines.
Is there gonna, I'm a scuba diver too, is there gonna be a buffer to keep cars from
yes,
going off there?
a bollard system to prevent the cars from going in.
What about any thought to a four-way stop at Hollybrook and Sawmill?
That'll be a traffic.
I know that, I'm just planting the seed once again.
Yeah, no, that a lot of that will depend, you know, that like they had said before, they'll go with what the traffic study says and are gonna be committed to that. So, at this point in time, I think everybody's got to ask their questions. I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. I know.
Deliberation. You all want to discuss it?
lot of questions, comments, concerns. I know a lot of the concerns, at least in my opinion, don't have a whole bunch to do with what we are, I don't even want to say voting, this will be a favorable, non-favorable.
Right, I mean, you are voting, but it is to send a recommendation onto the town council.
Okay.
Right.
On specifically the PUD ordinance, a lot of the concerns with traffic and drainage and all that stuff will be addressed at a later date. Just so everybody is aware of that.
I did make some notes, as Adam was making his presentation, and I'm going to seize this opportunity to ask on the record as conditions of, if you would be willing, as conditions of a favorable recommendation to commit on the record that there will be no short-term rentals. These are all things that you've already said.
Sure.
I'm not lying in the weeds, but I didn't see them in here. So what I'm asking for, are you willing to make a commitment on the record as a condition of a favorable recommendation and adoption of this PUD ordinance, that there will be no short-term rentals?
Yes.
That the HOA will be professionally managed?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh. That you agree to make road improvements consistent with traffic engineers' recommendations?
Yes.
That the fence around the wastewater treatment plant would be vinyl?
It'll be an 8-foot vinyl fence, correct?
And that you are agreeing to dedicate additional right-of-way. We've talked about it several times, but I realized we don't have that wired into any of these commitments we've been working on.
Correct, we are.
Right? Okay. So, and again, I heard you say all these things, but I didn't find them in there.
Sure enough.
So those are commitments that are agreeable?
Yes.
Okay.
One question I got usually, and thank you for pointing some of those things out, because I rely on you to look at a lot of the, what I would call the legal jargon and, you know, things like that. You've reviewed it. I know we've had multiple discussions. You know, we're good as far as what you're seeing from a legal side and binding to what they have in there.
Yeah. I think, and unless you have more deliberation, I think at this point, your options would be for a motion to be made to adopt ordinance 2024-09, which has been distributed to each of you, which is an ordinance, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the town council. It would be to make a motion to approve the proposed rezoning of this subject property to the PUD zoning classification and to send to the town council a favorable recommendation recommending that the council adopt ordinance 2024-09 conditioned upon the commitments that Adam just agreed to on the record, and excluding from the ordinance in the form you have it right now, section 9, the use and development commitments that will be addressed and made a part of the approval of the preliminary plat. So I'm excising that out of the form of the ordinance you have now, because the decision would be for those to be just plat commitments, right?
Say that one more time, I apologize.
So the ordinance that you have in front of you includes in section 9 on page 5 use and development commitments that are going to be embedded in a separate document to be recorded and addressed at the time of preliminary plat approval, and so they don't need to be in this ordinance, and we know they're going to be changing, so we don't want them in this ordinance.
That's what I thought you were getting at. I just wanted to clarify what it was, because I know there was
So let me try it again. So what I'm trying to do is help fashion a motion as one action you all could take, and that would be to send to the town council a favorable recommendation to adopt ordinance 2024-09 in the form you have in front of you, except for the deletion of section 9, subject to the commitments that Adam just agreed to on the record, and which will be reflected in the minutes after Cindy types them up all nice and pretty.
So moved.
So I want to ask you a question, because I know we've worked on this a lot. If we send a favorable recommendation, or whatever recommendation we send to the council, they still need to, this still is going to have to be discussed. If for some reason they come back with, on these commitments that we're still working through, say, oh, nope, we don't want to do any of it. Does that show any, I mean, if we okay this,
right,
are we still all right to basically say, hey, no, you really need to come back and look at these?
Yes, because you can make all of those commitments we've been working on conditions of the preliminary plat approval.
Okay, that's what I
So
wanted
the
to
property
double
could be
check.
zoned PUD, but they'll never get preliminary plat approval
Okay,
if they're not willing to agree to conditions of this plan commission's plat approval.
okay.
So I would say to you, we have the same opportunity we had. We're not losing any opportunity to impose conditions by sending a favorable recommendation of this ordinance onto the town council. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
And just want to make one more statement, beating the dead horse, like I've said before. There's a lot of other things, moving parts, the traffic study, the drainage stuff. That's not what we're going to be looking at here. That will be approved at we'll look more in depth at that 27
or not
meeting.
approved.
Right, or not approved.
Right.
So I just want to clarify, because I know that's a lot of the big issues, that if this gets approved as a PUD ordinance, that doesn't negate anything of looking at drainage or the roads and things like that. So I just want to reiterate all that.
And that was why I purposely struck that section 9. And those commitments that I heard Adam speak tonight, I am seizing the opportunity to make those a condition of the approval of the ordinance.
Okay.
And largely because I don't want to forget about them. But we are not foregoing any opportunity to impose conditions that are very much like what we've been talking about the last few days.
Yeah. No, that's fine. It makes me feel more comfortable if we did, I know I'm just one vote, if we decide, or I decide, to vote in favor of it, that we still have those other safeguards to look at a lot of the issues that people have.
Under the statute, the
have
plan
addressed.
commission's ability to impose conditions is exactly the same with regard to a preliminary plat as it is with regard to a zoning ordinance.
Okay.
So you have all of those tools still in the box.
Okay. Well, that's what I really wanted to feel comfortable
And
with.
we have a motion made, but we don't yet have a second. I'm not saying that to force anybody to second it, but in the order of things procedurally, we certainly can discuss this more. But if anyone is going to second the motion, let's second it and then continue discussion if there is any.
And you motion.
I made a motion.
For what Lee had said,
Yeah.
about taking the.
I'm not gonna repeat all that.
Okay, I know.
I'll second that motion.
So all those in favor say aye for the approval and of the PUD ordinance.
The approval and to send a favorable recommendation.
Favorable
to the town
recommendation
council.
to the town council. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4 affirmative on that.
So I will get a resolution for you to sign to communicate to the town council that the planning commission is sending a favorable recommendation. And I expect that the town council will consider the zoning ordinance at its November 6th meeting.
Okay, so that will be on November 6th.
And just to make sure, I know all of you are interested, a reminder, the preliminary plat will be the subject of another public hearing on November 21st at 6 o'clock. And the extent to which you still have questions or still want your voice to be heard, there'll be another opportunity at that time. Okay?
Thank you very much. So there was more on the agenda. It was the garage sale signs.
Yeah.
We are still in the process of working through that. So, meeting's over. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Lee will follow up on the other stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, say that again. For what? For what subject? Yeah. Well, you can come to the meeting on November 21st.
Property owners with those farms that they're trying to do this with.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I think I've talked to you on the phone probably about a year ago, I think.
Probably. So I appreciate it.
Yes.
I mean, I think
it's a process.
it's going to be the same
It's-
planning
it's a-
commission, but it will be
it's a
considering
It is.
the actual
And you
plat,
know,
which
I'm,
includes where drainage
hard
improvements
for
will
me
be
because
and some drainage patterns and flow.
I live in White River Township.
But
This is
ultimately,
family
when
farm here that,
a
it's hard.
Well, I know, in the conversation we had with you a while back, you guys have owned it in a while, and there was,
I mean,
you know.
it's part of the Tracy family.
Zoning administrator and engineers will review
Is
it.
your, didn't
look
you
at
tell
the
us when we
plans.
were on the phone that you
And
had
that's when they will make a
family
determination
out
that
west?
I have a
or
92-year-old
calculations
aunt who is also one of the
will not
surviving
adversely
owners.
affect neighboring properties.
And
that isn't
so I'm
public
dealing
meeting.
with her, and
Okay,
she's
Yes.
good, but yeah, I'm a point person here on this, so I've read so many contractual things, I get blurry eyed.
I think that if you think that,
So we just approved as this is mapped out.
Did you get rid of everything out of the ball?
That's still not-
During your sentence.
So what we approved was the PUD ordinance.
Well, no, the items that was inside, my daughter was
There's
on
nothing in the
We'll discuss a little bit more in depth of what this will all look like.
and I don't want to put him on the spot, but can I have
Not 100% sure on that. That'll be a question I'll have to talk with you.
Okay, so you're not, you are.
to see if you could, whether that, why they
So, and I'll give you a concern there. I think the only thing that makes me feel comfortable,
that would be,
I live in a newer neighborhood.
Okay, that's who I was talking about. She had family,
The hope would be
sons
is
or daughters
with these
that were
being
out west and things like
these
that.
people won't be in
Well, and I don't know why you didn't
charge
get
of
it.
repairing siding. They won't be in charge of painting the outside of their house.
well, certainly
In their
the
HOA,
developer
they don't
developing
mow
the
the
next
grass,
property
they won't
isn't